Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here again today with you on this Astrology, Human Design and Gene Keys channel. And today is going to be the second episode of our series looking at 3 different human design body graphs, or 2 or even one of them if you have just one. So the 3 body graphs we're talking about is the Tropical Human Design and Gene Keys, the Sidereal Human Design Gene Keys body graph, and the True Sidereal Human Design and Gene Keys body graph, which are based on the 3 different systems of astrology. So you can follow the series if you have just one of your body graphs too, or like I said, if you have all 3 of them already. So in this particular video, I would like to cover the profiles in human design and the gene keys, because in the gene keys we also have the 12 profiles. We have different lines that appear as well. And this series is going to include my own personal experiences and how I experience the 3 different body graphs. So in this video, how I experience my 3 profiles that come up when I look at my 3 body graphs as well. And you guys, before we even get started, you can leave in the comments below, what is your human design gene keys profile? And which system is that? Is it tropical, sidereal, or true sidereal? And if you know 2 or 3 of your profiles, comment below as well, and even share your experiences with the rest of us. I would love to read it, and I'm excited to be reading what you guys share in the comment section below. Okay, so I decided to divide this video into 2 parts because I don't think I can cover everything in one video, because I also want to go into my own interpretation of each line in human design and each profile in human design based on my own interpretation before I talk about my own personal experience. So in this particular video that you're watching right now, this is part 1, and this is going to be talking about the different lines in human design and the gene keys. So there are 6 lines, 1 to 6, and with regards to these 6 lines, you combine them together to make 12 profiles. In the next video that I'll upload after this, which is going to be part 2, I will talk about the 12 profiles and then my own personal experiences. So what are lines really in human design, in the gene keys, and how do we find that? You will find the lines if you have your body graph or your gene keys whole genetic profile in front of you. It's the decimal number behind the gates that you have. Okay, so for example, in my body graph, in tropical human design gene keys, my gate, the gate of my conscious sun, is in the 23, and my line is line 1. So the line is the decimal of each of your gates or gene keys. When you're looking at the lines, the ones that makes up your profile and the ones that, is going to be most important for you is going to be the top 2 numbers, top 2 decimals that you see in your body graph and in the gene keys. So for me, in tropical, it's a 1 and a 3. In sidereal, it's a 5 and a 1. And in my true sidereal, it's a 3 and a 5. Okay, so that's how you see what's the most important lines for you. And that, you put them together and it makes your profile. So you're going to have a conscious line and an unconscious line. Okay, so the conscious line is going to be the decimal number that is behind your conscious sun and conscious earth, which is usually on the, if you look at human designs, the right number, the top 2 right, the numbers on the right in black. If it's the gene key, it's going to be called your life's work and your evolution sphere. And then you're going to have an unconscious or a design decimal line. That's going to be on the top left in your human design body graph in red. And it's going to be what is called the radiance and the purpose in the gene keys. The next part of this video, I want to just give a really quick and brief, understanding of the mechanics of the lines and how they're created. So if you don't want to watch this, you can totally skip it. It doesn't really matter. But if you like looking at things that are a little bit more technical, you can watch this part of the video. So the lines themselves, they are what is called the trigrams of the I Ching hexagrams. So in I Ching hexagrams, we have, when you look at I Ching hexagrams, you're going to have 6 lines on top of each other. That's where the lines are created from. So line 1 is going to be at the very bottom, and then we go up 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Now, astrologically speaking, the lines are created from the exact degrees that a particular planet is in a zodiac sign. So one zodiac sign has 30 degrees. Within 30 degrees, that zodiac sign is divided into about 5 to 6 degrees. And within that division, we have a gate in human design, or a particular gene key, one of them. And then within that one gene key, you can divide it into 6 more degrees, because one gene key is going to incorporate 6 degrees, right? So therefore, within that one gene key, you can divide the gene key into 6 different sectors, and these different sectors are lines. So every gene key is going to have line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Every human design gate is going to have line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, so on. That's just a quick summary of where the lines are coming from. And if you guys want a little bit more of like a deeper interpretation into like each human design gate and their accompanying line, I'm going to provide in the description box below, or maybe in the comments, a resource that you can go to. It's called a line companion resource, to see what each particular human design gate and their corresponding lines, what that means. So for example, how a 23.1 is different from 23.2 or 23.3 or 23.4, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now I'm going to start by giving you guys my own personal interpretation of each of the lines in human design and the gene keys. So we're going to start off by looking at line 1 in human design and in the gene keys. Line 1 is at the bottom of the trigram, and in human design, it's been given the name of the investigator. However, I have my own name for each of the lines, and for line 1, I call it the sexy scientist. And that's just something I made up for each of the lines. I would associate line 1 with the archetype of Alice in the Wonderland, who's very curious and is going to go down a rabbit hole and, enjoys diving deeper into a rabbit hole. You can look at line 1 as an archetype of Belle, from Beauty and the Beast, who is absorbed in her own studies. She likes to read books, spend time alone, and study something very deeply. And I believe her father was an inventor, and he also has a similar vibe to Belle as well. The keywords of the gene keys for line 1, they call it the creator, self and empowerment, solitude, and physicality or bones. Now, the essence of the line 1 to me has this theme of depth and going into something very deeply. That's why it's called the investigator or the scientist or Alice in the Wonderland. And the line 1 does this for the purpose of building foundations. Foundations are very important for the line 1, and this means, like, for example, it can be a physical foundation, like having a home that the line 1 can kind of enjoy living in, so that it has some kind of security. Or this can be with regards to whatever they like to study, or with regards to people, they want to get to the bottom or understand very deeply the foundation of someone. Foundations of people tend to be people's psychology. That's what they like to dive into, for example. People's, childhood and home life. That's an example. And I would associate some planets with the line 1 to be something of a mix of Mercury mixed with Pluto. So if you have a line 1 in your conscious part of your natal chart, or it's a part of your life's work or evolution sphere, you have a line 1 in the mind or the personality. And therefore, this is going to be about creating something new, inventing something as a part of your life theme, inventing something original. The line 1s are here as a part of their journey to create something that is their own idea from deep inside of themselves. They have to be able to have their own expressions coming from their depths. And this is going to require a lot of patience and courage, because it's the themes of self-empowerment, right? When you are an original and when you're bringing something completely new into the world, it always has this potential to maybe fail, or to not necessarily fail, but to not really work the way that you had hoped, or to be met with rejection from others. And so you need to be able to empower yourself to still stick to this path despite the fears that may come up. You have to be able to have a certain amount of self-assurance, or if not, you can fall into a feeling of inadequacy. Line 1 in the mind or the personality, there's the conscious part, will find most of the answers in life inside of themselves. They need to be able to investigate things and investigate into themselves. Their greatest gift here, if this is a part of your personality, is that you are here to empower others to their inner strength, just like you have empowered yourself. So if I were to associate line 1 with a particular, gene key archetype, if you're familiar with the gene keys, I would associate it to something of gene key 1, gene key 51 even, and gene key 48. Gene key 48 is about moving from inadequacy to resourcefulness, to wisdom. Gene key 1 is moving from entropy to freshness, to beauty. And it's the 1, it's the first. And gene key 51 is about agitation, initiative, and awakening. So if you have the line 1 as your unconscious part of your chart, more about the body, that is going to be either your radiance or your purpose. This means that solitude is actually very healthy for you to have certain breakthrough moments that may be required in your life. Solitude can mean an inner state or an inner quiet. Even when you're around people or chaotic things happen in your life, you need to be able to have that inner peace inside of you. You're very much going to be about health, physical vitality. Sometimes your sensuality is going to be quite important for you. You're here to build foundations for future generations. So I would associate, if you have a line 1 as a part of your body or your unconscious, to be similar to gene key 24 or gene key 52. So gene key 24 is going from addiction to invention to silence. And gene key 52 is going from stress to restraint to stillness. That's kind of the vibe of gene key of line 1. Okay guys, so now we're going to go on to line 2 in the gene keys and in human design. So the name that human design system has given to the second line is called the Hermit. The name that I've given to line 2 in human design is the alluring dancer. Yes, so we had the sexy scientist, and now we have the alluring dancer. So this line would have a similar archetype to Cinderella, or even Sleeping Beauty or Aurora, because there's this sense of, Cinderella having been somewhat in the home and kind of tending to other people's needs, and she was sort of a hermit. She doesn't go out and socialize very much. But then when she does, there was something very, magical happening there, where people were kind of like looking at her dancing on the dance floor with the prince, and then she became the princess, kind of like that. I know, just feeling that vibe with the line 2. So the gene key keywords for the second line is going to be the dancer, passion and relationships, marriage, posture, fluids. To me, the essence of the second line feels like shyness. Where you think of Cinderella, first she was really shy, and then she became like, after the fairy godmother saved her, the most beautiful woman in the ball, right? Flow is something that we have associated with the second line as well. Flexibility, fluidity, and flow. If I were to associate the second line with some planets, it would be a mix of the moon with Neptune. Okay, so if you have the second line as a part of your mind or personality, so that's going to be either your life's work or your evolution sphere in the gene keys, you are here as a second line to be in touch with your unself-conscious self-expression. So what I mean by this is that you're here to express yourself, but without awareness and without being conscious about your self-expression. This is kind of like, that's why it's called a dancer, guys, because when a dancer has mastered their craft, right, the dancer is actually able to dance without having to think or use the mind to think about the movements that it has to be done, because the dancer is just unnatural. So they're not even aware or conscious when they are totally in the flow of their dancing. That's kind of like the second line's themes here, which is different from the third line, right? The third line, if you think about the archetype of an inventor, the inventor has to think when they are doing something. They have to go deep into inventing something, because if you're not going deep enough into something, it'll be hard to create something out of that thing that you're trying to invent from, which is different from the second line, where the second line is here to master their gifts, and then because of the mastery of their gifts, not even having to use their mind or to think, but simply it's just very unself-conscious when they do it. The second line is here to get lost in joy. They're here to get in touch with their most natural and easiest gifts. Think back to school when you were very young, in your childhood. What was that all about? And within that, they're here to trust and trust that is something that they're here to bring into the world. The second line has an unstudied air about them. Like, if you're operating really well with the second line, you can almost not have to go to school or not have to take a course or study something and still master in that particular gift, because you're a natural at it. There's a certain amount of grace and ease that comes when the second line has a trust in their gifts and they're using it. There's somewhat of an enchanting, passionate type of a pursuit when they are absorbed in something that they want to do. It can almost feel like an infatuation, and that's kind of what they are here to do. They're here to be infatuated with something in their life. The second line has a shadow which is called an unrealized anger, especially that can come out as they are relating to other people, because they can be unconsciously as well kind of not in touch with their feelings, not really looking inwards, and just kind of, because they're so in the flow, right, be angry with people without the person even realizing where this is coming from, and the second line themselves are not even aware of where this anger is coming from. So it's important for a second line to listen to the feedback of other people as like a mirror for them, so that they can also, at a certain point, unconsciously stop themselves from the negative relating patterns that they have. But first it's going to be a little bit more conscious first, and then they can be unconscious about it. So if I were to associate the second line in the mind or the personality with a gene key, it would feel to me like a gene key 22 or gene key 10 kind of a vibe. So gene key 22 is going from dishonor to graciousness to grace, and gene key 10 is going from self-obsession to naturalness to being. Now, if you have the second line in your body or your unconscious, which is going to show up as your radiance or your purpose in the gene keys, this means that your journey is going to be about marriage. That's what they call it in the gene keys, marriage. Marriage means to devote and commit your life and your life force into one particular thing in your life. You're here to have an intense relationship with either somebody or with either nature itself or with something that you love. And this intensity is coming from your body being able to be fluid and respond to the environment in an intense way that's almost like irresistible and unstoppable. This is about the spine or the posture when it comes to the body. If you have the second line in the body or the unconscious, you're here to find the most effortless path for yourself, whatever that may be, and trust in the effortlessness of your own path. So if I were to associate the second line in the body with a particular gene key, I would associate it with the gene key 29 vibe, which is all about half-heartedness at the shadow, going from half-heartedness to commitment and devotion. Second line almost feels tantric to me in certain aspects. So the third line has been given a name in human design as the martyr. The name that I would give the third line is going to be the thrilling, rebellious prince or princess. kind of long there. And the archetype that I would associate the third line with is going to be kind of like Princess Jasmine or Moana. Yes, Ariane. I thought you were having your training.
Yes, but also breaks for training. Like 3 hours. It's not a train, it's like more like a start or whatever.
Because as you can see, Princess Jasmine, well, she's grown up in the castle, but she runs away because she wants to discover more about the world. It's kind of like a second line theme there. So the gene key keywords for the second line, third line, the gene key's keyword for the third line is going to be the changer, energy and experience, interaction, movement, and blood. So I feel that the essence of the third line is about being experiential and being experimental. All the X's, experimental, experiential, experience. So yes, I would associate the third line with planets like Mars mixed with Uranus type of energy or Venus mixed with Uranus type of an energy. There's something a little bit unconventional and rebellious there. So if you have a third line in your mind or your personality, so it's going to appear as your life's work or your evolution in the gene keys, this is about being somebody who is here to live a colorful and probably also a chaotic life. The third lines are here to embrace change rather than stability at their heart. They're here to let go of the normal and to learn their gifts from life. Yes, so the third line is going to have a vast variety of people they meet, places they've traveled, experiences that they've had, troubles that they've gotten into, dramas that have come into their life. And that is where their gifts flourish. So a part of their gift here is going to have something a little bit to do with wisdom, right? Because when you've had a vast variety of experiences in life, you become wiser. However, the third line can sometimes fall into their shadow of self-comparison and self-judgments because they can feel like, why is my life not normal? Whatever normal means for them or for us really. Why is it not normal as other people? And they can feel like maybe they should try to create more stability in their life, but that's never gonna be, unless you have a 1-3, and then you're gonna be about foundations and then change. But other than that, it's gonna be really hard for a third line to try to create any kind of stability in their life. And in doing that, however, in trying to create stability when like too much stability or in self-comparison or self-judgments, they actually undermine their gifts because their gifts is about adaptability, is about that wisdom. And that has to come with consistent change. They're here to accept errors that happen in their life, accept mistakes that happen in their life as dynamism and ability to be adaptable. They are here to enjoy the journey rather than the destination. They're here to enrich others through their pain, their pleasure, and the new perspectives that they have gained through both pain and pleasure. They are here to create their own life story. And so why do you call the third line the martyr? So I feel that the reason for this is because of that, the fact that the third line is going to try something out on their own without listening to other people. So even if, even if their parents or somebody who's very experienced in their fields tells the third line something, the third line is gonna want to touch the stove to see that it is hot. And they're going to be quite, we could even say stubborn in wanting to touch the stove, even though 10 people have told them that the stove is hot, it's gonna burn your hand, but they're gonna dip their hand and put their hands and touch the stove themselves. And in that case, that's why they are called the martyr, because they put themselves, their own, sometimes their health, their own physical risk, their own reputation on the line to try out this thing that can be controversial, shall we say. So if I were to associate the third line with a particular gene key archetype, it would have a vibe of gene key 56 or gene key 42. So gene key 56 is going from distraction to enrichment to intoxication. And gene key 42 is going from expectation to detachment to celebration. So if you have the third line in your body, it's going to be your radiance or your purpose in the gene keys, you're here to be on the move, like physically be on the move. Diversity is healthy for you. You are here to travel, to live in different places in the world. You're here to do that and to even exchange ideas with other people. You're here to enjoy that thrill of being on the move, but at the same time with a certain amount of detachment. Because when you can do that, you will be some of the most compassionate people out there, and you'd want to help the less fortunate in various different ways. You're going to be very compassionate because you understand the human experience, and you are here to have regular physical exertion for grounding. So when a third line person feels this, let's say they're starting to get frustrated, or they're starting to get bitter if they're a projector, frustrated if they are a generator type in human design, or angry if they're a manifestor type, or disappointed if they're a reflector type, move, like get your body moving. That will help with that, the regulation of all those energies inside. The blood that is associated with the third line has to do with being here in this life to move through destiny and encounters, like a scene in a movie. Your life is going to be filled with various different encounters, and if you can see these different encounters in your life like a chapter of your own book, your own life story, a scene in the movie of your life, you are going to be the most enriching people out there, and you're here to enrich the rest of our lives. And so I would associate the third line being in the body with gene key 35 and gene key 36. It definitely has that vibe of the channel 35-36 of transitoriness there. So gene key 35 is going from hunger to adventure to boundlessness. And gene key 36 is going from turbulence to humanity to compassion. So line 4 in human design has been given the name of the opportunist. The name that I would give the line 4 is going to be the charming next door neighbor. And I would associate this line with the archetype of Snow White. Snow White is super friendly. She makes friends with all the dwarves. All the dwarves love her. All the 7 dwarves love her. She likes to help out around the house, and she likes to, just kind of offer her service to the 7 dwarfs. So the gene key keywords for the 4th line is the server, love and community, friendship, breath, rhythm. In the way that I feel the essence of the 3rd line, I feel that it's about being social and having convictions as well in your social sphere. So if I were to associate the 4th, did I say 3rd line? If I were to associate the 4th line with particular planets, I would associate it with a mix of Uranus and Moon, where the comforts are coming from an ability to have various different social contacts. If you have a 4th line in your mind or your personality, it's going to be part of your life's work and your evolution in the gene keys. These people are here to be influential. They are very people type of people. Their life is all about people. So therefore, they're some of the best listeners out there, and they are here as their destiny to listen to people's experiences, collective experiences of their friends and acquaintances. They're here for the purpose of service, and the best way for them to serve other people is to use their gifts for the sake of other people. The 4th lines are here to make people smile, to touch other people's hearts, and within that they have a great gift of persuasion. They can persuade people to come around to their way of thinking, to their ideologies, to their way of life. And this doesn't have to be an unhealthy way, but of course sometimes it can seem a little bit, depending on how you're going to use it, can also be unhealthy because it can be a little bit of a, should we say, a dogmatic type of an energy there. The 4th lines are here to balance being alone being in solitude with being with other people, because if they don't, they can fall into a position of exhaustion. If they spend too much time with other people, they can be exhausted. And when that happens, what they can do is that they can cut themselves off from other people. And when the fourth line cuts you out of their life, they do it very subtly. So they don't tell you about it. They may not even tell anybody about it, because they value friendships, right? So they tend to feel like, even though I cut somebody out of my life, maybe they'll still be a part of the community, or maybe they'll still be an acquaintance, and they don't tell you about it. And you may still feel like you want to approach them and see how they're doing, and they'll respond to you. You know, they're not just be quiet about it, they'll respond, but you'll sense that they're not talking as much as they used to, or they're not having as much input as they used to. So there can be a little bit of like this coldness that comes with the fourth line. But you know, the fourth line is really a warm-hearted person if you have this, and you really so much want to be in an environment where love flows naturally. They want to be in an environment where there's communication, there's community, there's even like a business building together with other people. And so therefore, that balance between solitude and socializing will help the fourth line to not feel so exhausted, and to have the energy to be out there and doing their thing again. Because being cut off from people, or cutting people out of their life, can actually, I would consider this to be a bit of a like self-sabotaging thing for a fourth line, because that is the last thing they want. The last thing they want is disconnection. But they sometimes don't realize that they do it because they're just exhausted. So I would associate the fourth line being in the mind or the personality with gene key 37 and gene key 40, which actually together form the channel of community. So gene key 37 is going from weakness to equality to tenderness. And gene key 40 is going from exhaustion to resolve to divine will. And if you have the fourth line in the body, so this could be like the top left red decimal point in human design, or it's going to be your radiance or your purpose in the gene keys. You are here to be a humanitarian. Your body can magnetically draw people towards you. Whether that is going to be good people or bad people is going to depend on the energy that you're giving off. These are the people with the fourth line in the body who need people they love and trust around them. It's very important for them to feel good in their body. Again, themes of cutting people away or cutting themselves away from the community, that's going to affect your heart. It means, if you're doing that, it means that your heart is closed. To open up your heart means that you're forever giving of warmth and love to others. Sometimes it can almost feel like unconditional, but it's kind of like opening your heart to other people. Someone's going to have to do it first. Are you going to be the type of fourth line that is waiting for the other to open their heart first because they fear rejection, so their heart remains closed? And this is kind of like the law of attraction, right? Where, you know, if your heart is closed, it's going to be that much harder for you to feel other people opening your heart to you. But if you are first to do that, if you're solid in your foundations as a fourth line and you're opening up your heart first, something very beautiful, magical can happen there. The fourth line in the body has people skills, excellent people skills. The fourth line in the body is associated with breath because it is about your body being in alignment with the deeper life rhythms. And that means to understand as well that we all human beings are breathing in the same air, and therefore the air that we breathe unifies all of us, and therefore we are all unified. This particular line here is about connection and unity. So if I were to associate the fourth line in the body with a particular gene key, I think it would be gene key number 2 and gene key 44. So gene key 2 is going from dislocation to orientation to unity. And gene key 44 is going from interference to teamwork to synarchy. Okay, so we're going to move on to the line 5, which has been given the name by Human Design as the heretic. And so I would, however, give the line 5 the name of the seductive police officer. So, yes, guys, I know what you're all imagining right now with the seductive police officer. I would associate this line with the archetype of Mulan, how her life is based on saving her father, saving her family's reputation, saving people. I mean, she would put her life on the line to save people, but at the same time, in order to save people, she had to adopt a different role. She had to pretend to be a man. So there's something about the fourth line and themes of projection and being seen as somebody that you're not really seen as, but it's for the role that you have to play in order to, we can say, save people, help people. So the Gene Keys keywords for the fifth line is the fixer, power and projection, impact, voice, and frequency. So to me, I feel like the fifth line's life themes are revolving around power and expectations and good use of power versus abuse of power, which affects the expectations that people have of you. And the planet that I would associate with the fifth line, why do I keep saying fourth? The fifth line is going to be a mixture of Saturn with Neptune. So if you have the fifth line in the mind or the personality, part of your life's work and evolution sphere in the Gene Keys, your life, these people's lives are about practicality. And when I say practicality, I mean they look at things, whether that's going to be ideas or solutions or concepts, and they think to themselves, will this really help the world or not? They're here to look at what they think is useful, what they think is going to really help people, help the world, save the world, and claim ownership of it, okay, and turn it into something powerful. They're here to bring that ownership of something that they believe is going to save the world into the society, to create greater efficiency. They're here to be in a position of leadership at some point in their life. And outward success is going to be a big theme of the fifth line. There's going to be a certain mystique around the energy or the aura of the fifth line, which then gets us talking about the projection field of this line. Okay, so the reason why a fifth line is called the heretic in human design, and the reason why it's associated with Mulan, pretending to be a man, is because there's a big projection field around a fifth line, whether they realize it or not. This is coming through their aura. And the projection field of a fifth line person means that people see something within them that may or may not really be there. And if you have a fifth line, you have to understand that that projection field is important for your purpose. It's kind of like you're playing a role, and that role is important in pursuing your purpose. So if you're like a police officer, right, that I associated with this line, it doesn't matter that you are not really strong and inside of yourself when you are at home or alone. It doesn't matter what your weaknesses and vulnerabilities are. Like, people don't care about that when they look at a fifth line. They only care about the image the fifth line is giving off and whether that image fits the role that they're playing or not. And they see that image. So the thing about being a heretic as a fifth line is that you have to understand what is it about you that you're really here to do. And you have to choose your projections carefully. The abuse of the power of the fifth line comes when they are giving off a projection that they can save everybody in every way possible and be everything for everybody. That's an abuse of power, because you cannot do that. You cannot be everything for everybody. So what happens is that people are they can come to you for various different things, and you're not going to be able to meet all those expectations. And when you can't meet someone's expectations, people immediately look at the fifth line like they've done something really bad, like they've become at odds with the fifth line, or they turn the fifth line into their enemy. And if the fifth line is working with this correctly, when the disappointment happens, when you can't meet up to certain expectations, you have to know that that is not your path. That is not your journey. When you can meet up to people's expectations, however, that is when you know that that thing is your journey. It is your path. Okay? And that is why the fifth line can be considered as a heretic. I'll just make this easier for you guys and give you a quick, easy example. Is that you're a fifth line and you're giving off a projection field that you can cook because your mind wants the power, your personality wants the power. So you may give off a projection field that you can cook. And this may come from what you say. This may come from particular pictures that you post on social media. This may come from particular things that you write and you post to the public, okay? They can blow up that particular topic into a point where you have absolutely no idea how people can just blow things up and project such a thing off of you, okay? So, and that's fine. That's your learning process. So you may give up a projection of being able to cook. You may give up a projection of being able to be very good with money, and at the same time, be somebody who is also a good driver. Okay, so you give off these 3 projections, but your path may just be one of those projections. Which one is it? Are you a good cook? Are you a good driver? Or are you what's the other thing I said? Good with money. So you may have people coming to you, and they want these 3 things from you. You may meet 2 disappointments in those things. You may disappoint people because you actually can't cook. You may disappoint people because you can't drive very well. And your path may just be that you're really good with money. And then you'll know through this that there's one expectation you could meet, the other 2 you could not. You disappointed people, you were the heretic. But then you have found that one piece of projection field that works for you. You need to own up to that one. You need to own up to, in this example, being good with money, claim ownership of it, turn it into something powerful, bring it to the society. So I feel like I went on for quite a bit there. That is going to be the themes of a fifth line. So the fifth line has to be aware of their power. And if I were to associate the fifth line personality with a particular gene key, I would associate it with gene key 11 and 60. So gene key 11 is going from the shadow of obscurity to idealism and light. Gene key 60 is about limitation and realism and justice. Power has its limits. Where's going to be yours? Now, if you have the fifth line in your body, going to be a part of your radiance and your purpose in the gene keys, it means that your body has a wide impact on society. Just your body itself, there's something about it that people can sense a special power coming from the way that you present yourself. You have to be, with the fifth line in the body, be clear about the promises that you're making to people, because you have an ability to have a growing reputation and a global reach, and you want to be able to do that with something that you can uphold your promise to. They are here to create transformation in a particular chosen field. Their tone and the frequency of their voice is going to be very, very important. That's mainly where the power is coming from. It's the tone of your voice, the frequency, and how you use your voice. If you think about a politician, for example, it's about how they say, what they promise, and the tone and the frequency of their voice. So if I was to associate the fifth line body with a particular gene key, I would associate it with gene key 31 and gene key 54. So gene key 31 is going to be about going from the shadow of arrogance to leadership and humility. Gene key 54 is going from greed to aspiration to ascension. Last but not least, we have the sixth line. So the sixth line, in the human design, they gave it the name of the role model. The name that I would give to the sixth line is the soulful bohemian. And this line is going to be associated with the archetype of Pocahontas in my eyes, because Pocahontas is very much in tune with nature, the animals, the people, and she has this wisdom about the unity of all things, but she also has a perspective and a vision about culture and race that is beyond what her tribe can see. So she has a very futuristic type of a mindset. So the gene key keywords for the sixth line is going to be the teacher, education and surrender, nurture, intent, cells. I feel that the essence of the sixth line is very cyclic. Now, if you are somebody who can really understand cycles of nature, cycles of human life, various different types of cycles, you are going to be a very mature type of a person if you can understand these things. There's a certain amount of objectivity with this line as well. So the planets that I would associate with the sixth line is going to be a mix of Jupiter with the Sun. So the sixth line has 3 stages in their life. The first stage is before their first Saturn returns. That's from they were born until they're 30 years old. That part of the life, the sixth line has life that's very much similar to the third line. So they're filled with trials and errors, various different experiences, being on the move, traveling, having encounters, trying things, experimenting with life. And then when they step into their 30s, they begin to contemplate on their experiences. They become a little bit isolated from the world and reflect on their past experiences. When they step into their 50s, that's when they step into their role model phase. So their contemplation becomes a point of wisdom for them. So if you have the sixth line in your mind or your personality, going to be part of your life's work and evolution in the gene keys, these people can understand other people's gifts very well and are able to provide the right environment for those gifts to flourish. Their life is built on a lot of patience, because to be a role model, to have wisdom to share with people, you have to experience something in your life. First, wisdom is knowledge gained from life experience. Wisdom doesn't come from reading books, doesn't come from watching YouTube videos. No, it comes from living your life, really meditating, thinking about your life. And then you have the wisdom. So it takes time to cultivate that. So contemplation must be a natural path for the sixth line. The sixth line may experience having a big paradigm shifts about their own dreams at some point in their life. And they're here to surrender and trust the big shifts that will happen with regards to their dreams. And to go with that, to surrender to that, and not resist the changes that needs to happen. They're here to have long-term visions and perspectives and be able to use that for their own life and for helping other people. But at the same time, to not impose their views on others, because that's what the sixth line can sometimes feel entitled to do, is that their views are the correct ones and they have to impose it on other people. So they're not here to do that. They're here to instead draw out other people's viewpoints, other people's perspectives, other people's gifts. That's the best kind of teacher, is to get the student to be in touch with themselves again, to not impose the teacher's views on the student, right? So at some point they may experience sacrificing their own goals for the future of the collective. So if I were to associate the sixth line with mind and body, mind and personality with a particular gene key, I would associate it with gene key 17 and also 63. So the 17 is going to be opinion, farsightedness, omniscience. The 63 is going to be doubt, inquiry, truth. And suddenly it just got dark. I think it's about to rain. Nope, that doesn't make it better. Okay, that's fine. It's a little bit darker today, guys. So if you have the sixth line in your body, and it's going to be part of the radiance or the purpose in the gene keys, these people are here to hold a deep dream and to nourish that in their body. Through life's changes, they're here to not give up hope, even if sometimes they have to reform their dreams, or sometimes they have to reinvent or recreate their dreams. But they have to not give up hope, because these reformations that happened, it is for the betterment of the collective. It's not going to be about yourself and your own agenda. It's going to be about the collective and the future, the progress of humanity. In time, your role in the bigger picture is going to be clearer. you will know what you're really here for with regards to the bigger scope of things. The sixth line in the body is associated with the cells, so your aura is going to do most of the talking most of the time. So therefore, your intention for other people and your intention for life, for your own dreams, they should be, they have to be pure without underlying motivations. They have to be authentic. Otherwise, people are going to be able to sense just in your aura your inauthenticity or your kind of underlying motivations behind the things that you do. It will be pretty clear. They are here as a sixth line in the body to raise the future of human awareness, which ultimately it is about unity of all of life. So I would associate the sixth line in the body to have a similar frequency or vibe to Gene Key 41, which is going from fantasy, anticipation to emanation in the Gene Keys frequency. Okay guys, so I feel like that was a lot today and the lighting is not doing me any good right now. So do comment below, what your thoughts are on each of these lines and which ones do you have anywhere in your chart or as your profile, because the lines can be with any planets that you may have there. So yes, do comment below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Tune into a part 2 of this video when I combine the lines together and we talk about the actual profiles, as well as me giving my personal experiences of the human design profiles that have showed up for me. So yes, that's going to be it for today, beautiful souls. Bye!